significant and substantive ways in terms of helping the people of Afghanistan. Basically, as far as all the 34 provinces of Afghanistan are concerned, having high impact community development projects there, invested about more than $3 billion. I don't think any other country has extended that sort of bilateral assistance for the people of Afghanistan. It was not that these are sort of, commercial ventures.
Decade. I was in Saudi Arabia for 12 years, and I interacted with a lot of Afghanis, and their impression about Indians is fantastic, is wonderful. Like I was speaking to a Afghani restaurant owner, and he asked me the first time when he saw me, he thought me to be a Pakistani, and he asked me, "Are you from India or Pakistan?" When I said I'm originally from India, so he said that, "Wow, you guys have been helping us a lot with dams, with roads, with the schools, with hospitals, and with goodwill." So the Afghanis in general, they have a
All right, let's introduce our panel of experts. Joining me on India Connect tonight is Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar. He's a former Indian diplomat and distinguished fellow at the Observer Research Foundation. Also joining us on the show is Zahak Tanveer. He is founder of Milli Chronicle UK and a counter extremism analyst. Thanks very much, gentlemen, for joining me on India Connect. Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar, let me begin with you. Now, just days after a ceasefire was announced between Pakistan and the Taliban in Afghanistan, you have the TTP issuing a brazen threat to Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir, saying, "Face us if you're a man." The question is simple. What do you make of this threat? And do you believe this ceasefire is likely to hold?
Yeah, thank you very much, Neha, for having me on your show. And coming to your second question first, I think it is very unlikely that the ceasefire is going to hold, because, in my view, the problems between Afghanistan and Pakistan are much more structural at the moment, as you can see, and they have been like that for many, many, not years, only decades. Even when Taliban 1.0 was there, there was no acceptance as far as the Taliban is concerned of the Durand Line. At that time, relations between the Taliban and Pakistan were cordial. You would recall, Pakistan was one of the two or three countries that had recognized the Taliban administration in Taliban 1.0. I think the other two were UAE and Turkmenistan. And even at that time, when the relations were friendly and cordial, Afghanistan did not agree to validate the Durand Line, which they consider to be an artificial line created by the colonizers in 1893, that is Britishers in 1893, and that it has no sanctity. It might be just a line in the sand. But the Pashtuns are one people, Pashtuns are one ethnicity, Pashtuns are one nationality. So you cannot divide them by just having one line between them. So it has never been accepted by Afghanistan, by Taliban. Whichever hue of government has been there in Afghanistan, in Kabul, no one has accepted it. The second is, Pakistan had always thought, you would recall, Neha, and your viewers and listeners would recall, that when the Americans went out, when the NATO ISAF forces went out in 2021, at that time, Imran Khan, who's the Prime Minister, he had declared very triumphantly and very victoriously that we have today, broken the shackles of slavery, and now we are coming to, we have achieved freedom by the occupying forces going out from there. But this all this triumphalism has turned very sour today, because Pakistan had thought that it could treat Afghanistan as a surrogate state. It would provide it with strategic depth in case of any conflict with India or whatever. And then it had expected that Afghanistan is going to help Pakistan in dealing with the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Now, all those assumptions of Pakistan were obviously misplaced, and they, did not read the writing on the wall. And so we have seen that, within just about a few years, reality has come to bite Pakistan. Administration in Kabul, they have stated very as far as putting any pressure on coercion on the TTP is concerned, and this is what Pakistan, accuses the Afghan Taliban of doing, that they are providing safe havens, and the Taliban says that they are not providing any safe havens. There are no terrorist groups there in Afghanistan. So I think those are basic issues, those are fundamental issues. And though it might have been, some sort of an agreement might have come between the two sides, which has been signed recently, but there are such structural issues and problems and difficulties between the Taliban and Pakistan that I don't think that peace would be long lasting. Last word, Neha, if you permit, as far as India is concerned, I think we need to recognize, of course, we had problems with the Taliban 1.0, because we did see that, whether it is Jaish or Lashkar, they were all getting support from Taliban, and that was proving to be safe haven for these terrorist groups which have been formed by Pakistan. And even when Taliban came to power in 2021, there were reports that Jaish leader Masood Azhar, he had gone to Kandahar to seek the support and blessings of Akhundzadeh, saying that we have supported you for the last 20 years in fighting for your independence, and now you have to come and support us in our fight for liberation of Kashmir. So there were no, confirmed reports coming out in terms of what was the response. But over the last 4 years at least, we have not seen any voices against India, any actions against India by the Taliban administration in Kabul. So while we
Right.
do have problems about the rights of women, rights of girl education, the plural governance problems, issues in Afghanistan. But I think India has very prudently, very pragmatically taken
Okay, Ambassador Sajjanhar, I'll come to the India angle in
improving our
just a
relations.
moment. I
Yeah.
wanted to actually discuss that in our next segment, but let me take this to Zahad Tanveer. Mr. Tanveer, of course, the big question on everyone's mind is whether the ceasefire is likely to last. Looks unlikely, says Ambassador Sajjanhar. But many would argue that this is chickens coming home to roost for Pakistan. This is Pakistan's own Frankenstein monster, really, turning on it, given the relentless TTP attacks that we've seen inside Pakistan territory.
Yeah, that's true. First of all, thank you so much, Neha, for having me on your show. The second thing, as I was listening keenly to our esteemed guest, Ashok Sajjanhar, uh, he gave all the details, like the history of what exactly happened between Afghanistan and Pakistan. And if you really look back at the history, you see that this is not new, which is happening right now. Afghanistan and Pakistan has been fighting for this Durand line, which is almost like 2,000 kilometers, and they have been doing this since 1980s. And Ziaul Haq, he wanted to do this strategic depth, and he did it with the ambition that he would, make Afghanistan and Pakistan together. And once this Afghan jihad would end, he thought like, using the Afghan Mujahideen against India to separate Kashmir from India, but that didn't happen. And a Pakistani scholar, Iqbal Ahmed, he once warned about this strategic depth, and he prophesized it as a strategic death. And he said that a country caught in an iron web of wrong assumptions, magic believing concepts, failed policies, fixed posters, and increased sectarian violence. So this is what he predicted, that this will definitely will gonna happen. And Olivier Roy, he mentioned in 1997 that de facto absorption of Afghanistan will accentuate centrifugal tendencies within Pakistan. So these prophecies were made within Pakistan and outside Pakistan, and they made it very clear that, as you mentioned, that the chickens will come home to roost, and this is what is happening right now. So Afghanis, they have been fighting for their nationalistic cause, and they have been doing this, and they fought the Soviets, they fought the Americans, and Pakistanis, they used the double policy against the Afghanis. They invited the Americans to kill the Afghans, and they also trained the Afghan Mujahideen to fight the Americans. And now the Pakistani establishment, especially the Pakistani army, is facing their own wrongdoing.
Certainly, Pakistan and its deep state facing its own wrongdoing. Let me now go back to Ambassador Sajjanhar at this point. So let's talk about the India angle in all of this. You know, the recent visit by the Taliban foreign minister to New Delhi surprised many, raised quite a few eyebrows as well. Obviously, this is a very complex relationship that India shares with the Taliban. Apart from the obvious ideological differences over issues such as human rights and women's rights, the hijacking of IC-814 to Kandahar hasn't been forgotten either. But at the same time, really, as we know, diplomacy is about pragmatism. Would you agree with those who say that at a time like this, India needed to show this pragmatism that it has by making an outreach to the Taliban in Kabul to ensure at the very least that Afghan soil is not used for any kind of attacks against India? Even though Pakistan, of course, is conveniently blaming India for its own internal troubles and accusing the Taliban of acting as a proxy for India, which obviously is a preposterous claim that has been rejected by both India and the Taliban. But really, how do you see India's engagement with the Taliban?
Yeah, Neha, if you look at the relations between India and Afghanistan, not specifically the Taliban, the relationship is very ancient, it's very historical, it's very civilizational. This is with the people of Afghanistan. And you would recall that whether it was during the Karzai government, during the Ashraf Ghani government, India has been reaching out in very, very significant and substantive ways in terms of helping the people of Afghanistan, basically, as far as all the 34 provinces of Afghanistan are concerned, having high impact community development projects there, invested about more than $3 billion. I don't think any other country has extended that sort of bilateral assistance for the people of Afghanistan. It was not that these are sort of, commercial ventures. When you have the Pule-Khumri transmission line from Pule-Khumri to Kabul to bring light and electricity to Kabul, when you have the Zaran-Dilaram road, 218 kilometers there, when you construct, all these schools and hospitals, when you provide, assistance for elections, when you provide, this protein-rich biscuits for the children of, to deal with the malnutrition there, when you construct the Salma Dam, which is called the Afghan India Friendship Dam, when you construct the parliament building there in Afghanistan, in Kabul, these are not commercial ventures. This is not that, India is getting any benefit or any returns out of it, except the return of friendship, warmth, love, and cooperation from the Afghan people. So, this is what India has been working, and I'm sure the Afghan government, Afghan people, of course, meaning this is what I understand, that if you go and you ask the people of Afghanistan, there is immense, immeasurable love and affection for India and the people of India, while the situation is quite the reverse. I don't want to use any adjectives if you ask them about what they think of Pakistan. So relations between India and Afghanistan, the Afghan people, has been very strong, very historical. Even if you look at in the current case, after 15th of August 2021, India moved its embassy out and then established a technical mission, because we continue to extend support, humanitarian support, for the people of Afghanistan. For instance, we wanted to supply 50,000 tons of wheat because there was this problem of malnutrition and famine-like conditions just after the Taliban came to power in Kabul, and we wanted to spend that 50,000 tons of wheat through Pakistan to Kabul. And that also, you had mentioned about connectivity in your initial remarks. And that also Pakistan would not allow. They would say we would allow it if you were to send it in Pakistani trucks there, basically trying to give the impression to the Afghan people that this is support and aid that is coming from Pakistan. Anyway, we have continued to use Chabahar. We have continued to provide medicines and vaccines for COVID-19 to the Afghan people through Doha, through Dubai, and other places. So, the point I'm making is that as far as India is concerned, it has been very committed in terms of reaching out and strengthening its relations with the people of Afghanistan. And as I mentioned very briefly in my initial remarks also, that after the Taliban came to power, we have not heard any comment from them that there should be anything against India that has been mentioned, or any actions that have been taken against India. And we've seen that the Afghan territory is not being utilized for any actions, any inimical actions, any hostile actions against India. And this has been stated by the Afghan leadership, whether it was the meeting between Vikram Misri, our foreign secretary in Dubai, that took place recently, or the visit of Joint Secretary Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran that visited Afghanistan some time ago and had meetings with Mr. Mutaki and the other leadership. So I think we have very in a calibrated manner, we have moved forward. As you have said, the technical mission, which was opened in 2022, basically to look at the distribution of the humanitarian support and aid that India is giving, that has been upgraded to that of an embassy, a full-fledged embassy. And I think it has taken place so very quickly after Mr. Mutaki's visit. An 8-day visit, 9 October to 16th October, which is very, very unusual. But I think it's a very welcome visit, and that really sends out the message about the keenness and the interest as far as India is concerned in taking our relationship forward, and the alacrity and the rapidity with which the technical mission has also been upgraded also sends out this message. So I think it's a strategic step, it's a very pragmatic step, it's a very realistic step under the changed circumstances. Particularly, last point, I visit the Central Asian countries very often. I was there just about last week, and we know that all the Central Asian countries are engaging the Taliban administration very actively, and their position is that Taliban is a fact of life. It has come to stay, and we have seen that there is stability at the moment. There is not the sort of violence that we saw from 2001, or at least 2004 till 2021. So it is much, we don't see any
Right.
terrorist actions, and to get stability there, we have to engage the Taliban, and that is what India is also doing.
Absolutely, you make some very good and fair points. Zahak Tanveer, what is your take on this? As Ambassador Sajjanhar has rightly pointed out, India has historical ties with Afghanistan, the people of that country. It's usually invested in that country. Over the years and decades, it's invested billions really in infrastructure in Afghanistan. And given, the state of affairs in our neighborhood, it was perhaps the most pragmatic thing for India to do, to make this outreach to the Taliban. You saw the visit of the Foreign Minister to New Delhi a few days ago. How do you look at India's engagement with Afghanistan, or the Taliban rather, which is ruling Afghanistan at the moment, and how do you think Pakistan would have seen it?
As I've rightly mentioned, that the historical relations between India and Afghanistan has been very, very long. And in fact, it goes back to like 2000, 3000 years ago, like the people of Afghanistan and the people of India. And as Ambassador Sajjanhar was rightly mentioning about his interactions with the Afghanis, and in fact, in the past decade, I was in Saudi Arabia for 12 years, and I interacted with a lot of Afghanis, and their impression about Indians is fantastic, is wonderful. Like I was speaking to a Afghani restaurant owner, and he asked me the first time when he saw me, he thought me to be a Pakistani, and he asked me, "Are you from India or Pakistan?" When I said I'm originally from India, so he said that, "Wow, you guys have been helping us a lot with dams, with roads, with the schools, with hospitals, and with goodwill." So the Afghanis in general, they have a very good impression about the Indians. And he said something about Pakistan. He said that the Pakistanis, they have been taking our children, getting them trained on jihad, and the Pakistan has given us nothing except bombs, except the jihad training, except chaos, except bloodshed and terrorism. So yeah, the Afghanistani and the Afghanistan and the Afghanis have a very positive image about India. The second thing which I want to reiterate is that the Chanakya, Acharya Chanakya, he mentioned something in his Chanakya Niti that if collaborating with someone brings more benefit than harm, then you have to go for it. So India will definitely not endorse what the Taliban thinks about women or the women right and all those things. But obviously, if the collaboration between India and Afghanistan brings a halt to terrorism and stops Afghanistan from hosting the terrorists against India, then it brings larger benefit to India in terms of human lives. So that's something what India thinks about, and I really appreciate that.
All right, and certainly we see strengthening of ties there because, as has been mentioned, India has decided to upgrade its mission in Kabul to a full embassy. But the bigger question still remains, will the region continue to witness volatility? Can this ceasefire between Pakistan and Afghanistan really last? This is, of course, something that India will be watching very, very closely. On that note, Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar and Zahak Tanveer, thank you so much to both of you for joining me on India Connect.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's all the time we have on this edition of India Connect. If you have been, thanks for watching. Do join us again.